All right, just a message to all these gang stalkers that are being paid by this shadow government. All right, guys, this is what it is. So you have Christopher Columbus going on a voyage, right, to create a new trade route to get to India because the Silk Road was closed off. And so they couldn't get anything from the Middle East anymore. And so Europe was going to die a slow and painful death if it didn't find a different route to India. Anyways, long story short, they come across a whole another continent that has never had contact. Well, I wouldn't say never, but immunity to diseases such as smallpox, influenza, measles, and all the other horrible, deadly diseases that exist. And so you have literally a population of people who, in point of fact, has been isolated for a period of time that have no immunity to even the common cold. And so when Columbus invaded the Caribbean islands and following afterwards Mexico into Central America, etc., up into the north and to the south, you have this wave of European expansionism taking place in what is called the Americas. All right, and what occurred within a period of 150 years, you had a massive die out and population reduction or population collapse of indigenous peoples, these so-called Indians or these so-called Native American peoples of the Western hemisphere, the so-called Americas, which is not the appropriate word. The real name for the continent is Semanawak, and the in the Aztec language. Anyways, long story short, so you have the situation where large amounts of innocent people began to die out within a generation, guys. So women and children, elderly, it didn't matter. Even the king, one of the kings in the so-called Aztec Empire ended up succumbing and dying from smallpox. His name was Cuitlawa. And so from the devastating impact of the smallpox virus that wiped out whole populations, it is estimated that 95% of all of the indigenous peoples, the populations that were here before European contact, died within the first 150 years, guys. And so when you see all these Hollywood movies depicting my ancestors living in huts and teepees and all of that, that's after the devastation. So the Europeans came and invaded us after there was a sort of ethnic cleansing through biological warfare. And so it was very easy for them to come and settle, because the lands were already barren. The cities had already been devastated. The populations that were here had already been wiped out. There was no military to resist European invasions, European colonialism. Anyways, so not only did 95% of my ancestors died from this initial contact with smallpox, and not only was it in the numbers of 77 to 100 million lives that were lost, not only did this take place, but what happened afterwards, you have this colonialist expansionism just ravishing the remnant populations that survived the smallpox holocaust. All right, and as they start to settle in, they start to the remnant populations of my ancestors. It was very easy for the Europeans to force cultural assimilation, more appropriately cultural genocide, upon my ancestors, because they're pretty much defenseless. Think about it, guys. If a deadly virus spread far and wide today. And 95% of the world's population died out. And of course, it's going to be a I Am Legend scenario. And right? And so when and now envision an alien race coming from, let's say, planet Saturn, coming to colonize Earth at the expense of humanity. It would be much easier for them to come here and colonize us, because after the devastating effects of this lethal virus epidemic, there wouldn't be no army. There would not be any military institutions, no branches of the military left to defend us, right? And so that's what happened to my ancestors. And so what I want to tell you, gang stalkers, and all of you people out here who are harassing people like me, because I know all of this stuff, and I'm talking about it, you need to understand that you have a situation where the people that came here in those ships were not just regular Europeans. They were criminals that were given the opportunity to experience freedom once again, so long as they went on these excursions, that were considered suicide missions. They were very dangerous propositions to take about at that time, because they were exploring unknown lands, right? And so they're not just going to send anybody. Would NASA send somebody who sits in their fucking couch all day and watches TV, eating Doritos, to planet Mars to go and do explorations? Of course not. They're going to send their best of their finest, right? And so because the civilizations or the Western cultures and empires that were behind the colonization of the Americas, their eyes were on the reaping of natural resources, gold, silver, land, slave ownership, etc. All these different things were over time their main objective. And so when they came here, they sent criminals. They sent people who were very aggressive, people who were very violent, because those were the kind of people they needed to come in, commit all these massive crimes that followed the smallpox Holocaust that took place here. They're called conquistadores, people who conquest. And what they did is they committed countless crimes against humanity, atrocities against my ancestors. And just like ISIS was doing in the Middle East not so long ago, they did that to my ancestors. They came here and they forced Christianity. They coercively, religiously converted them to Christianity. They forced their languages. They coerced my ancestors to accept a foreign alien culture. The English language, the Spanish language, the Portuguese language, all these different things that we Mexicans, Central Americans, Native Americans, First Nations peoples, South Americans, all these languages that we speak in these cultures that we're practicing today, they were all forced upon us, guys. These are not our cultures. And these same cultures are the same things that are keeping us trapped in this mind control matrix system. All right? Think! You have a brain. Use it. Think. It's not illegal yet. Just think about it. Why do Mexicans speak Spanish? If the Chinese in China speak Chinese, if the Germans in Germany speak German, why are Mexicans in Mexico speaking Spanish and not Mexican? Because I don't know if you realize there is a Mexican language, because the word Mexican actually derived from the word Mexica, which is a Native American tribe. It's a civilization known as the Aztecs. All right? And the main language that we spoke is Nahuatl. And I need you guys to comprehend that even to this day, our people still speak Nahuatl that has clinged on to the Spanish that was forced upon us through this whole cultural assimilation process. You still have people in Mexico today who speak Nahuatl fluently. And so I just want to know that I'm being attacked at the moment. I have, if you see right here, you have, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a UPS truck right here. They've been stalking me all day. Anyways, so what I'm trying to say is Now, here in America and all over the world, because they've taken over the planet, you have this Jesuit order influence, all right, that's coming out of the Roman Empire. Because I don't know if you realize, the Roman Empire still exists. What the fuck do you think the Vatican is? What do you think America is? What do you think all these other colonies all around the world are? It's the Roman Empire that has spread its tentacles all throughout the planet and is still exploiting humanity. They're still out for, you know, colonialism and conquest, imperialism and all of that shit. So what I'm trying to get you guys to understand is that all you gang stalkers out there who are being paid to go and harass people like me, that because we talk about this stuff, you guys are actually doing the work of the devil. Because the devil is not a horned beast with a tail and with red skin. The devil is the person that has engineered a false reality around spiritual soul beings such as ourselves, and has told us that we are physical and that we have absolutely no supernatural powers, that we are an accident that happened, or that we were created by this God known as Jesus Christ. When in reality, Jesus Christ, if you look at the etymology of Jesus Christ, he was never a historical figure that actually ever existed. And then when you understand that through the Council of Nicaea, it was a Roman story that was pushed on the people as a political basis of control, all right? With this whole Roman Empire takeover of human free will, all right? And so you have the situation where today you still have the Roman Empire controlling the planet. You still have this ancient pyramidal power structure still in place today, where you have the slaves in the bottom who are in the dark about everything. They have no knowledge whatsoever about what's truly happening in the world. And then you have the higher ups. You have the people that, the so-called managers, all right? They're slave plantation managers that look down and make sure that the slaves stay in line. And then above them, you have the people who are the managers of the managers. And above the managementship, you have the rulership. And above the rulership, you have the elitists. And above the elitists, you have this negative, parasitic, extraterrestrial presence that is passing itself off as humans. All right? And so here's the bottom line. Who were these people? The cultures that they brought, their religions, what do they really represent? All right, and this is where the hat falls off, because see, I've done my homework, guys, and I'll tell you right now that this whole thing about Jesus Christ, and you know, a lot of people don't like to hear this, but I'm sorry, it's the truth. All right, it's the truth, guys, and I gotta tell you because I love you guys. I'm putting my fucking life on the line to tell you this stuff, all right? Anyways, so this whole idea of Jesus Christ, if you look at the etymology of it, all Jesus Christ is, guys, is the anthropomorphic representation of the Son. All right, so this whole thing about Christianity, it's just a pagan religion, all right? People think that it's not paganistic. It's more pagan than pagan can get, because you're worshiping the Son through the personification of a man known as Jesus Christ. You have to understand that not only are you guys worshiping the Son, but over time, through the corruption and exploitation of religion and other conquests, and then conflict of interest between cultures from the Europeans themselves, they changed this whole worshiping of the Sun to something known as the Black Sun. And the Black Sun is actually planet Saturn. This entity is called the Lord of the Rings. That's why when you listen to verses in the Bible, they often refer to the Creator as the Lord. Well, if you listen to Jordan Maxwell and his work, he'll tell you that Lord actually comes from lard, from the fat subcutaneous tissue of swine. We have been fooled. We've been swindled into accepting this Creator, all right? And now our people, we don't fucking know this. We don't care about this shit. We're just trying to survive. We're not going to question the etymology of things, you know? We don't have time for that. We have to go to work. We have to attend to our day-to-day slave lifestyle that we've been given as a form of existence. If the black sun, this planet Saturn thing, Saturn has always been known all throughout history, guys, and you can look this up for yourself, as Satan. And Satan is the devil, right? And so if in point of fact Jesus Christ is Satan, think about what that does to you when you go to church, supposedly worshiping the creator of the universe, when in reality you're worshiping planet Saturn, you're worshiping the devil. Think about what that's going to do to you as a living soul being. What you're doing is you're giving consent for this entity to operate through you. By you simply, getting up every day, going to work and trying to survive. I know you're innocent. I know you don't know this, but I'm sorry, guys, I have to break this to you. You, in point of fact, are giving your life and everything that you value, you're giving it to the devil. And this is why the money that we have today in America, it's littered with Satanist, Illuminist symbolism. It's all over. You could see it even in the churches. What do you think the towers are? They're penises, they're phallics. It's all perverse. It's all sexualized. And so with this whole thing about Jesus Christ actually being the devil, and you worshiping this, living faithfully by it, is one thing. Another thing that you guys aren't being told by your lovely government is this whole technotronic warfare that's going on right now. With this smart meter, with this 5G network. Do you guys comprehend the ramifications or the consequences of having these devices planted in your homes? And how they can affect your electromagnetic fields? Because yes, the human body actually has electromagnetic fields. All right? And so a lot of things that are happening, we're not being told, and how these particular devices affect not just our bodies, but more importantly, our souls. Because that's what the electromagnetic field is. It's your soul. It's your auric field, your aura. All right? This whole 7 chakras energy center, it's an electromagnetic field. All right? And everything in this creation has an electromagnetic field. Anyways, and so what people do not understand, and I don't blame them because it's so simple that people will often just dismiss it as it's too simple for it to be true, And that is that us and everything that you see around you is a consequence of a frequency. In other words, a sound effect, a noise. Okay, this whole thing of vibration coming from sound, the oscillating effect and vibrating effect of frequencies create the physical world around us. And so what I'm trying to get across to you guys is we have this situation where through these devices, all right, through all of these devices that are being used through the electromagnetic field manipulation of our soul, from the outright giving consent to this demonic entity known as Jesus Christ, down to the money that we use that is literally littered, all right? It is filthy with all of these satanic symbols. And also bringing into account the fact that millions upon millions of my ancestors of innocent lives had to die in order for this country to exist today, in order for you to have a job, in order for you to have that BMW, in order for you to have that Bentley, that mansion, in order for you to have, your beautiful family and all these things going on, guys. Think about what, if Jesus Christ really did exist in the way that Christianity portrays him, think about what he would tell you if he came down tomorrow and he saw what you guys were doing. Not questioning, remember this whole idea of Christianity, the Christ, the Christus, it's all based on elevating and connecting to the higher crown chakra, the full-on spiritual empowerment and awakening that occurs when your Kundalini is activated. To think that we have things like McDonald's and chemtrails and all of these different toxins in our food and our water, especially our vaccines, and then being manipulated by these, artificial frequencies, and the fact that we've been swindled, because all of us, look, the majority of us are good people. We don't intend on being bad folks. All of us are hardworking, honest people. Americans are good people. But the people that control us, they're not good people at all, guys. In fact, did you know that your government here in the United States, did you know that your government has declared you the enemy of the state? Did you know that through papal bulls that were passed by the Vatican, that we are considered slaves? Did you know that our birth certificates are proof of claim that we are slaves and that our souls belong to the Vatican via the birth certificate and this whole maritime admiralty law system that exists today? Did you know that? Did you know that you do not own anything? Not even the children that you think are yours. You can't own them according to these papal bulls that were passed, according to unum sanctum. You need to look into these things, guys, because did you know that all of the papal bulls, all of the laws that came out of the Roman Empire through the Vatican are applicable everywhere in the planet except for certain few nations such as North Korea, such as Iran, and places that are being targeted right now, being declared terrorist states that are against freedom. Did you know the real reason why they're being targeted is because they refuse to be colonized by the Roman Empire? They refuse, because the Roman Empire is not just the Vatican. They don't work that way. They're not outright honest like that. What they do is they work through adhesive contracts. They work underneath the table, so to speak. All right. And so the way it works is the Vatican controls the British crown, the monarchy. All right. And through the British crown, the monarchy controls the United States still. It's still a British colony, guys. It never became a fully independent nation. People think that we won independence and all of that. No, that didn't happen. It's all a fallacy. This is what they want you to believe. Look into it, research it. Through these contracts, the Vatican actually controls the entire planet. And did you know that this whole Federal Reserve System, this whole Illuminati grip on the world is actually the Vatican still doing the thing, guys? It's the Jesuit order. All right? And the Freemasons themselves are in fact the offshoot of this whole Freemason thing is actually its underlying foundation is based on Jesuit order philosophy. It got all of its ideologies and its practices from the Jesuit order. This whole devil worship through the personification of planet Saturn, through the anthropomorphization of planet Saturn. Guys, I am being heavily harassed right now as I'm telling all of this truth to you guys. Everything in the universe is based on consent. If I walk up to you tomorrow and I see you drinking a coffee and I just straight up snatch it from you and I take a sip and you don't protest it, guess what? According to natural law, that coffee is now mine. It's called tacit agreement. And this whole tacit agreement thing, that's how these crooks behind the Vatican, all right? As a matter of fact, they're not even human beings like we are. They're not Homo sapiens sapiens. They're actually a different species of so-called human. They're called Homo capensis, all right? And they're actually extraterrestrial hybrids, these so-called elite bloodlines, these 13 Illuminati bloodlines. They're extraterrestrials. They're half reptilian, half human. And they are the ones that are controlling the show today, because this whole idea of planet Earth and humanity that lives within it is supposed to be a human farm by which these interdimensional hyperspace beings can reap and feed off of our soul energy. It's called loosh feeding. And so what they do is they create a society where it's just good enough for you to live and get through, but it's designed for you to experience the most possible pain you can feel ever as a living soul. Because the whole point of this whole planet, at least under the control of the Vatican, is to cause so much anguish and pain upon souls so that they can produce the purest form of food for these entities that feed off, literally they feed off of this. And so this is why you have at the very, very top of society, you have pedophile rings, you have human sacrifice going on, okay, behind closed doors. You have this whole extraterrestrial presence, okay? And again, extraterrestrials, they're no different than us human beings. They're just like there's bad and good people, there's good and bad extraterrestrials. And just like we have cultures in this planet, they have cultures as well. And some cultures, such as those of the reptilians, mostly they're taught that they're superior. The way we view love and kindness, they view aggressiveness and violence, guys. I mean, that's how twisted their culture is. And again, we can't really judge them because, again, they're aliens. They're not us. We're a completely different species. We don't operate the same way they do. And so you need to bring that into account when we talk about all of these things. And so with the Vatican, they're actually sorcerers. And yes, they have pacts with the negative reptilians and this whole worship of planet Saturn. So what you have is these entities at the top, these so-called elitists, okay, what they do is they perform blood-led rituals that open up portals that allow them to communicate with interdimensional negative beings where they derive their power from, because they're sorcerers and they're casting massive spells upon us. This is why when you click onto channel 11 or any news broadcasting, why do you think they're called broadcasters? And if you pay attention to the bottom right corner or bottom left or upper or whatever, there's the word live. They're broadcasting live. Live is an anagram of the word evil. And so they're broadcasting evil. And if you pay attention to these news reporters, they're often using neuro-linguistic programming, this NLP tactic, because they're casting spells, they're wizards. This is why they're always giving up gestures, they're always throwing up the 666, or they're throwing up the white supremacy sign, or they're throwing up the horns, which is supposed to be I love you in American Sign Language. But they don't look at it that way, because everything that they represent is the total opposite of that. And so they're about hate. When we think about creation, they're about destruction. And so through these blood-led human sacrifice rituals, they contact these entities, and these entities, they get their information from them, right? And these entities come down with people's names, such as my name, people's names like Malcolm X, etc.
Bohemians and priests, the desperate call of heavy hearts is answered by the power of your fellowship. Stalker is slain.
And they actually give these people that are performing these blood-led rituals, they give them heads up. They tell them, oh, there's this person that lives in America. He's this age. He's of this ethnic background. He lives, this is his situation, and this is how you can destroy him. And so because this whole Vatican system controls the planet, they can actually tell the CIA, the NSA, and the FBI to come and target these particular individuals that are of interest, that need to be neutralized, eliminated, or compromised, right? And so what they do is these agencies, and again, not all of the people there are bad. So the people that are actually in these agencies, the ones at the very, very top, they're all Satanists. They're all Luciferians. They do human sacrifice, just like it's everywhere, guys. It's a plague. You can't get away from it. It exists everywhere on the face of the planet, because they colonize, Europeans actually colonize, the entire planet, believe it or not. And so that's what, when you look at North Korea, countries like Syria, countries like Iran, they're resisting. They're called terrorists. They're given the most heinous rumors that they hold nuclear weapons and stuff like that. So what? They could justify an invasion and call them the criminals and the ones that are threatening world peace, when in reality, they're just trying to mind their own business, you know? Anyways, but yeah, these agencies at the very top, what their assignment is to monitor and ultimately create a dossier on targeted individuals so that they can bring them down. You know, if they can't get you to commit suicide or to go out and commit a massive shooting or something because you've been harassed and you're so stressed out and you're tired of it, and finally you blow up and you go out and hurt people. That's what this whole targeting individual phenomenon is designed for. And not just that, but also to oppress you spiritually. But anyways, what they do is they create the dossiers needed for the prosecution and incarceration or clinical hospitalization in a mental asylum for targeted individuals that know the truth, or they'll just come out right and, you know, contract some assassins to come and murder you. All right, and so that's what they do to people like me and many other people who are awakened, who mean well for humanity, that have this knowledge, that want to share with the world, that are not selfish, that don't even think twice, you know, to put their life on the line for everybody else. Because people like us, we're considered a threat to the power structure, because the power structure is all about keeping the people oppressed. They're all about keeping the people ignorant. Why? Because if you guys start to wake up, you're going to start stepping up to the plate and saying, no, we don't want vaccines in our children. We don't want chemtrails in our air. We don't want fluoride in our water. We don't want GMOs. We don't want conventional foods. They're not going to be able to control us anymore. And when people start to actually break through to the fourth dimension, to the fifth, and so on and so forth, they're going to start to reap their spiritual, supernatural abilities. And so they're going to start to have more psychics in our population, more people who are telepathic, more people that can do telekinesis and miraculous things such as that. We're going to regain that true understanding of our infinite potential. And that's why they target people like me and many other targeted individuals. Because we know this stuff, and they know that we do, because they have Tesla thought projection technology that taps into the consciousness of human beings. And they can actually register and eavesdrop on your thought patterns. And they have these advanced 5G AI supercomputers, these quantum computers, that can not just tap into your consciousness, but they can implant false ideas. Okay, they can manipulate your thought patterns, they can manipulate your emotions. And another thing I want to mention is this whole idea of money, this whole idea of the monetary system, it's all a fraud, guys. Nobody has the power to tell you what you can't and can't get. Only the creator of the universe can do that. All right, and so when you think about this whole monetary system, it's all based on fiat currency. It has no intrinsic value. In fact, the only value that it has are the signatures, the treasurers, and the secretary of the treasury that is on the actual promissory note. Their notes, their bills of exchange, their IOU notes. It is not money. This is what you guys need to understand. There's a difference between notes and money. That's why it's declared as legal tender, because legal tender is not money. Money is gold and silver, guys. This is why the Federal Reserve System liquidated all of the gold from the American people in 1933. We became the collateral liquidated assets afterwards. That's why we have birth certificates. If you type in your birth certificate number into a stock exchange office, you know, they'll be able to pick up your birth certificate and they'll tell you how much you're worth, because you're a slave. You are an asset to these people. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about me. They don't give a fuck about none of us but themselves. And this is what you need to understand. At the very, very top, guys, they are not human beings. All right? They're extraterrestrials, these guys as men, yo. Understand that. And that's all I wanted to tell you guys. I love you guys. This is Juan from Everything Truth. And no matter what, I'm always going to be speaking the truth. It's not about, offending people. It's about awakening people. It's about bringing the truth, even if the truth is painful at first, even if the truth is repulsive at first, even if you grow to hate it. Nevertheless, you must learn the truth, because if you don't know the truth, guess what, guys? It's going to affect you in the afterlife. Because all of us were sent here to do something for all of us, not just for yourself and for your family. It's about the collective. We are all one, guys. We are all sync with the universe. All of us are made out of the same molecules that everything you see around you is made out of. We are all connected. There is no such thing as an individual. All right? And this is what I need you guys to understand and fully take in, and slowly but surely, I know it's hard, but slowly but surely start digesting this truth and start getting real, because your children's future is in the line here. Because I foresee a massive war taking place within the next 15 years. And many people, and millions of people are going to lose their lives. That we don't have to go down that route. All right? And so again, this message is for the people who are actually going out there and doing the dirty work for these elitists at the top. Guys, you're no different than us. In fact, you're actually in the worst predicament than we are. Even though we're being tortured and our whole life has turned into a Truman Show, quite literally, you guys are actually in a worse predicament than we are on a spiritual level, which is what really matters here. Because we are spiritual beings first and physical beings second. And so when you bring into account that you're actually working for these demonic entities, and you're promoting this enslavement of the human race, and again, you're doing it for the money, you're just trying to, it's extra cheese and all of that, so I don't blame you. But you're hurting the world, because by you targeting people like us, you're trying to prevent us from expressing this message to the world that could change the planet, that could change human consciousness. And you're trying to prevent that, whether you realize or not. And think about what's going to happen to you when you die. This whole idea of heaven and hell, it's real, guys, but it's not what we've been told through this whole Christian theology thing. All right? You actually go down into the second dimension. You go down the grade if you fuck up on this planet. Because it's a test. You come here, you were sent here to do something. And if you fail on your mission, you either come back, you reincarnate over and over again, or they send you into this fiery pit, this thing known as hell.
So listen up, gang stalkers. While you're out there thinking that you're doing something patriotic for your country, not realizing that your so-called country doesn't even exist anymore. Did you know that the US, the United States, it's in all caps, foreign and private operated for-profit corporation? And that by means of your birth certificate and your quote-unquote U.S. citizenship, you are considered a slave, employee, binded in contract to this foreign corporation? Did you know that you have no unalienable, inalienable constitutional rights under citizenship? Did you know that by you being a U.S. citizen, you waiver your constitutional rights? You do not have any constitutional rights. What you have are simply privileges that can be revoked denied at any time. But you don't care about that, right? You're just about living in the present. You're about today. You're about getting by. You don't care about the fact that your children are slaves. You don't care about the fact that you have a major problem here in your hands, because you're a survivalist. You're being taken care of so long as you go out and harass people like me. People who have put everything on the line to help our fellow men obtain this repressed, hidden knowledge with the long-term goal of awakening the people to this truth. According to 28 United States Code 3002, subsection 15A, the United States is a federal corporation. According to Volume 20, Corpus Juris Secundum, the United States is a foreign corporation in respect to a state. So then, who are you working for? When you're out there thinking you're a patriot, supposedly targeting criminals and undesirables and people you've been told need to be dealt with and neutralized, you need to question who, in point of fact, you're working for. And as I mentioned earlier, you're actually working for the devil, guys. I know you mean well. You've been given a justification to go out and target these individuals. But in point of fact, you're actually working against the people who can make your life with those who you work for have promised you a reality without having to work, without having to sacrifice and put your life on the line, because you're dealing with a lot of people who have been harassed constantly for years on end, who at any moment can blow up, and you can get caught in such a scenario. So this is dangerous work you guys are doing. And so I advise you gang stalkers out there to please stop and think, and first and foremost, repent. Because I don't know if you realize, but what you're doing is not anything new. As we all know, history repeats itself, especially when the people are ignorant of history. All of the stuff that you guys are doing has been done before in Russia and in Germany, right before World War II. And so what I need you to understand is that America, as you know it, as you've been fooled into thinking it exists, is actually at the brinks of a World War IV. Because I don't know if you realize, you're actually the spearhead of World War III at the moment. Because World War III is not being fought like a regular war. It is a war behind closed doors, implementing everything from targeting dissidents in their own countries for political bias reasons, utilizing technotronic warfare such as your smart meter and your 5G fast-paced internet, nanotechnology that is found in chemtrails, mercury in your vaccines, fluoride in your water supply, along with countless prescription drugs, radiation in our atmosphere from Fukushima and our water, and many other things, guys, in our food. And so World War III is not a conventional battlefield, so to speak. It is a war against the mind. It is a war that is being fought silently. and rather cowardly behind closed doors. And so what's going to happen here, guys, is this activity that's happening with this whole targeted individual phenomenon thing, it's actually the beginnings of a major world war, World War IV. I need you to understand, guys, the Germans started World War I. They lost. The Germans started World War II. They lost militarily, but they won it socially. Because after World War II, the top military and scientific and medical personnel that were conducting unethical human experimentation against their subjects, such as the gypsies, the Jews, so-called gay people, disabled and mentally handicapped, were actually smuggled into the US, guys, through something called Operation Paperclip. And these Nazis acquitted or forgiven for their crimes against humanity, so long as they were willing to work for the US government. And they went on to establish such agencies as the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, and NASA, the National Aeronautics Space Administration. And so you see, guys, due to ignorance and the lack of questioning your reality, you're actually helping the Nazis that linger within our own government to advance their agenda and to finalize their plans for the world. Because the Nazis do not intend to lose World War IV. And that's why they're launching a secret and cowardly war behind closed doors right now on American soil against those who still have a free spirit and who practice free will. So please think about what you're doing. And I need you to repent and ask for forgiveness, because all of the innocent people who are going to die as a consequence of World War IV, those people's blood are going to be on your hands. You're going to be directly responsible for the deaths of countless innocent people. Why? Because whether you realize it or not, you are helping to keep the world oppressed by targeting people such as myself who know this truth. Because your works are designed to prevent us from expressing this truth to our fellow humans. And so not only are you doing the devil's work, but you are a traitor to humanity. Think about this. Repent and do what's right, man.
Stand up, queens. Stand up, kings. Do what you gotta do, but do it now because your children's lives depend on it. Literally.